very quick summary. It was mentioned before what I do as a company, so I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm just going to probably echo some of the points that has also been said by other people this evening. This group meets to consider smart cities, the things around them and various other aspects. But if we think about the UK scale of this is 2016 view of the UK cities. Sheffield's down here. Much smaller cities are somewhere up here in terms of leaders and contenders in terms of smart cities figuring. This is a global view. This is created by a number of type agencies. There's a lot of viewpoints of how we're competing internationally on this. And what's being looked for is quite clearly stated out by the government. This is what the government's trying to achieve, and there is funding available to attack this. There is a lot of funding that's around. We heard ERDF mentioned earlier. What I was just going to make a very quick point on is that I think we need collectively in this room to come up with the things that we need to make things better and actually get people talking to each other and integrate with the council and SCR to build those visions. Because there is things out there that we are starting to miss. So there's a new one coming up now. I'm putting this one out now. It's a new one, so we've not missed this yet, so don't worry. But it's something that could be of interest to people in the room. It's had a minor press release by the government, but it isn't widely known yet because the full scope and everything else doesn't come out. But basically there's a pot of money, about 20 million, been put aside by central government in order to provide the council money to give out awards to tech companies that improve public services in one way or another. That's money the councillors freely can give out to tech companies to solve their problems for them, with the right to then license and take that technology afterwards as the council built into the agreement, which actually funds new businesses to actually take advantage of new technologies, at the same time as actually providing the council a way to actually take it into supply chain. It's something that we should probably explore. It does seem madness if we don't. There is time to do this one, and I think it's something that we need to work out who are the contact points within Sheffield and SCR to try and make this happen. But I think this isn't just something that the council need to do. It's not all on their back. It's actually, why do we want this? We need a concerted effort of actually who are the people who will be involved and who has an interest in this from this room, because we need to build this a little bit more collectively and actually build these cases. So this one's going to be announced now with Brexit shenanigans going on a bit longer than people thought. It's going to be announced at the beginning of next year properly, which is when the news will come out in more detail about exactly what they're looking for. But there is money out there that can be taken by Sheffield and just given out freely to tech companies to boost. And as we're trying to build a tech cluster in this area at the moment, it does seem like something that we fall highly to ignore. Innovation loans. I'm just mentioning a few of these. None of these are relevant to me as my company. I'm just trying to point out a few of the new things that are coming up, because I think collectively in this room we need to take more advantage of some of these. And this region does suffer quite badly from not taking advantage of these things as much as other areas. Innovation loans only applies to UK SMEs, so nothing to do with the council in any way in this sense. These are loans that are, the risk is not underwritten by a bank who's going to take your house away. They're going to be underwritten by Innovate UK. So ultimately, if you've got SMEs that have a great idea or backing of anyone else, well, wouldn't it be nice if, and people want to explore the concept, they can get money to explore that, and they only have to pay that money back if that becomes a commercial success. So you can give that money to actually explore new activities and create SME activity within the city. And this is something that should be potentially pushed within the group, because we're looking at lots of different aspects of funding around this and a lot of different areas that we need to support, but there are things in here that could help certain companies. Put that in bold, check the finance terms closely. If you're an SME, you may find alternative sources of funding somewhere else, but the fact is, if there's a call for this, and there's actually a need for it, in that individual company trying to push for that and trying to say we want it, actually that kind of helps, but actually a concerted effort actually around the room saying actually that would really help the city, really improves those bits. So it's actually trying to build a little bit more of a cohesive thought between us of actually what do we need in this region, and can we use these sort of things to try and bridge those gaps. This one was mentioned earlier, the RDF one, and we may miss this one. You mentioned the funds are in there, two axes here, 4 and 5. 4 is the low carbon economy, and 5 was the climate change aspects. 6.8 million and 1.6. At the moment, after spending probably a lot of emails going backwards and forwards to various parts of the council and SCR. I've not found if this is being explored at all. This is a grant that is only available to Sheffield City region. So if it's not taken advantage of, that money will disappear. And at the moment, I don't know if it's being followed up. But it does need to be submitted sometime in, unfortunately, early next year. There's a whole load of these. I don't want to go through them in detail. What I really want to try and do, just in this room today, is try and work out who are the people that actually have experience of actually applying for bits. Because we've got a lot of people in this room with lots of little projects going on here, there, and everywhere. But actually, can we kind of get a concerted effort between people who are saying, actually, what does the city need? Can we work together to try and bridge these gaps? Because if we also recognise as a group that actually what the city really needs is Project X, oh well, it's not in my camp, but at least I'll write a letter of support because it helps the area and helps everything else. We'll get more people working together to solve these problems. So can we collectively record these? These are just two I found quickly. You know, there are many more grants out there that could potentially be taken advantage of. And in this region, we do not take advantage of them enough. If you think about even the funds for improving traffic at the moment, those ones which are in the billions of pounds of types of grants, 50% of that money goes within the M25. The Northern Powerhouse and all the central measures that government are trying to say is actually it should go across the whole country, but we're not taking good enough advantage of available pots of funding in this region. And I think if we look at this a little bit more collectively, we could have a way of tapping into that a little bit better. We'll never be perfect, but the more that we can do, the better we can. If we can identify the groups of people or the agencies or the companies or that have experience in this area, we have the university, Sheffield has, there's other Urban Flows does, there's all sorts of agencies within this room that have the ability to be able to explore this, but what we need to do is try and actually get some of these people talking together about these possibilities, because at the moment they're all building projects. I've got projects, hardly any of them are in Sheffield, because I've not managed to make the connections locally to make that happen. So we need to get that happening a little bit more, those types of conversations, so that people can explore those. That was basically it. It was just a quick call to arms to try and collate some of that information and try and take it to the next step. And I know that's not my business. My business is something else. I just thought it was a good point to raise in this meeting. So, next slide. Questions? Yeah.
It's not a question, it's a response, which is prior to what I'm doing now, I spent about 10 years where a big chunk of what I did was applying for funding. Yeah. And I'm very happy to work with other people on applying for funding for projects that could happen here.
And there's many other people probably in this room that have done the same. I've done it in my business, I've rotated a lot, you've done a lot. But the problem is that we're all doing it, but without knowing what's actually going on. There's nothing holding that together within the local region, which means that everyone's just heading off and finding things. Like Fabio said earlier, all these projects are in Turin and West Midlands and so on. If we can have something that links that together a little bit better locally, we'll have much more opportunity and more funding for this region.
It's worth noting that Andy Curtis presented a couple of months back from the KTN.
He did, yeah, and he would have had many more lists of fundings than I did.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And there's, we do have a straight response to this, because which I'm going to talk about as part of SmartSheffield News, which is the digital coalition that Mark talked about and where that's gone to, and the conference that we had 2 weeks ago, and the set of Trello boards that we've created to capture exactly that information and those opportunities, and try and find people to collaborate with to realise them. So that's not to say that is the solution and we don't have to worry about it anymore, but there is, the stuff that Sam has just talked about leads very neatly and directly into the stuff around the coalition. So we need to collectively help establish the coalition and make it really work. And we've got a chance of punching at our proper weight, because we don't tend to in this region when it comes to funding. Thanks, Sam.